Hi, everybody. My name is Miss Carol, and I work in the library with Miss Daggett's. Today, I'm going to be reading the book Snowflake Bentley to you. This book was written by Jaqueline Briggs Martin, and it was illustrated by Mary Azarian, and it was published by the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Company. Let's start reading. Here's the first picture. In the days when farmers worked with ox and sled and cut the dark with lantern light, there lived a boy who loved snow more than anything else in the world. Willie Bentley's happiest days were snowstorm days. He watched snowflakes fall on his mittens, and he dried grass of the Vermont farm fields. On the dark metal handle of the barn door, he said snow was as beautiful as butterflies or apple blossoms. Wilson Bentley was born February 9th, 1865, on a farm in Jericho, Vermont, between Lake Champlain and Mount Mansfield, in the heart of the snow belt, where the annual snowfall is about 120 inches. He could net butterflies and show them to his older brother, Charlie. He could pick apple blossoms and take them to his mother, but he could not share snowflakes because he could not save them. Willie's mother was his teacher until he was 14 years old. He attended school for only a few years. She had a set of encyclopedias, Willie said. I read them all. When his mother gave him an old microscope, he used it to look at flowers, raindrops, and blades of grass. Best of all, he used it to look at snow. While other children built forts and pelted snowflakes at roosting crows, Willie was catching single snowflakes. Day after stormy day, he studied the icy crystals. From his boyhood on, he studied all forms of moisture. He kept a record of the weather and did many experiments with raindrops. There he is with his microscope. Their intricate patterns were even more beautiful than he had imagined. He expected to find whole flakes that were the same, that were copies of each other, but he never did. Willie decided he must find a way to save snowflakes so others could see their wonderful designs. For 3 winters, he tried drawing snow crystals. They always melted before he could finish. He learned that most crystals had 6 branches, though a few had 3. For each snowflake, the 6 branches were alike. I found that snowflakes were masterpieces of design, he said. No one design was ever repeated. When a snowflake melted, just that much beauty was gone without leaving any record behind. Starting at age 15, he drew 100 snow crystals each winter for 3 winters. That's a lot of snowflakes. When he was 16, while reading of a camera with its own microscope. "If I had a camera, I could photograph snowflakes," he told his mother. Look, those must be his parents. Willie's mother knew he would not be happy until he could share what he had seen. "Fussing with snow is just foolishness," his father said. Still, he loved his son. When Willie was 17, his parents spent their savings and bought a camera. Look at that camera. It was taller than a newborn calf and cost as much as his father's herd of 10 cows. Willie was sure it was the best of all cameras. The camera made images on a large glass negative. Its microscope could magnify a tiny crystal from 64 to 3,600 times its actual size. I think he's excited it's snowing. Even so, his first pictures were failures. No better than shadows. Yet he would not quit. Mistake by mistake, snowflake by snowflake, Willie worked through every storm. Winter entered, the snow melted, and he had no good pictures. He waited another season of snow. One day, in the second winter, he tried a new experiment, and it worked. Well, Willie had figured out how to photograph snowflakes. Now everyone can see the great beauty in a tiny crystal, he said. Willie's experiment, he used a very small lens opening which let only a little light reach the negative, but he kept the lens open for several seconds, up to a minute and a half. He learned, too, that he could make snow crystals show up more clearly by using a sharp knife to cut away all the dark parts of the negative around the crystal. This etching meant extra hours of work for each photograph. But Willie didn't mind. Look how excited he is. But in those days, no one cared. Neighbors laughed at the idea of photographing snow. "Snow in Vermont is as common as dirt," they said. "We don't need pictures." Willie said the photographs would be his gift to the world. While other farmers sat by the fire or rode to town with horse and sleigh, Willie studied snowstorms. He stood at the shed door and held out a black tray to catch snowflakes. When he found only jumbled, broken crystals, he brushed the tray clean with a turkey feather and held it out again. He waited hours for just the right crystal and didn't notice the cold. If the shed were warm, the snow would melt. If he breathed on the black tray, the snow would melt. If he twitched his muscles as he held the snow crystal on a long wooden pick, the snow would break. He had to work fast or the snowflake would evaporate before he could slide it into place and take its picture. Some winters, he was able to make only a few dozen good pictures. Some winters, he made hundreds. He learned that each snowflake begins as a tiny speck, much too tiny to be seen. Little bits, molecules of water attached to the speck to form its branches. As the crystals grow, the branches come together and trap small quantities of air. Many things affect the way these crystal branches grow. A little more cold, a little bit less wind, a bit more of moisture will mean different shaped branches. Willie said that was why, in all his pictures, he never found two snowflakes alike. The best snowstorm of his life occurred on Valentine's Day in 1928. He made over 100 photographs during the 2-day storm. He called the storm a gift from King Winter. Here he is. Willie loved the beauty of nature. He took pictures in all seasons. In the summer, his nieces and nephews rubbed coat hangers with sticky pitch from spruce trees. Then Willie could use them to pick up spider webs jeweled with rainwater drops and take their pictures. On fall nights, he would gently tie a grasshopper to a flower so he could find it in the morning and photograph the dew-covered insect. Willie's nieces and nephews lived on one side of the farmhouse that Willie shared with his brother Charlie. Willie often played the piano as they sang and shared stories and games with them. But his snow crystal pictures were always his favorites. He gave copies away or sold them for a few cents. He made special pictures as gifts for birthdays. He even held slideshows on the lawns of his friends. Children and adults sat in the grass and watched while Willie projected his slides onto a sheet hung over a clothesline. Many colleges and universities bought lantern slide copies of his photographs and added to their collections each year. Artists and designers used the photographs to inspire their own work. Willie wrote about snow and published his pictures in magazines. He gave speeches about snow to faraway scholars and neighborhood sky watchers. "You are doing great work," said a professor from Wisconsin. The little farmer came to be known as the world's expert on snow, the Snowflake Man. But he never grew rich. He spent every penny on his pictures. Willie said there were treasures in snow. "I can't afford to miss a single snowstorm," he told a friend. "I never know when I will find some wonderful prize." Other scientists raised money so Willie could gather his best photographs in a book. When he was 66 years old, Willie's book, His Gift to the World, was published. Still, he was not quite ready to quit. Even today, those who want to learn about snow crystals begin with Wilson Bentley's book, Snow Crystals. By 1926, he had spent $15,000 on his work and received $4,000 from the sale of photographs and slides. Oh, look at that snowstorm. Less than a month after turning the first page of his book, Willie walked 6 miles home in a blizzard to take more pictures. He became ill with pneumonia after that walk and died 2 weeks later. A monument was built for Willie in the center of town. Girls and boys who had been his neighbors grew up and told their sons and daughters the story of the man who loved snow. 40 years after Wilson Bentley's death, children in his village worked to set up a museum in honor of the farmer scientist. And his book has taken the delicate snow crystals that once blew across Vermont, past mountains, over the earth. Neighbors and strangers have come to know of the icy wonders that land on their own mittens, thanks to Snowflake Bentley. The plaque on the monument says, Snowflake Bentley, Jericho's world-famous snowflake authority. For 50 years, Wilson A. Bentley, a simple farmer, developed his technique of microphotography to reveal the world of grandeur and mystery of the snowflake. Its universal hexagonal shape and its infinite number of lovely designs. That must be the plaque right there. And here's the last page. That's a picture of Wilson Bentley right there. And some pictures of his snowflakes. Let me read this too. It's a quote. The average dairy farmer gets up at dawn because he has to go to work in the cow yard. I get up at dawn too. But it is because I want to find some leaf hung with dew, or a spider web which the dew has made into the most delicate ropes of pearls. I take my camera with me, get down on my knees in the wet grass, and photograph these exquisite bits of nature. Because I do this, I can show these lovely things to people who never would have seen them without my help. They will get their daily quart of milk all right. Other farmers will attend to that. But I think I'm giving them something which is just as important. W. A. Bentley. I hope you have enjoyed this reading of Snowflake Bentley. I can't wait for the next snowstorm, and when you go outside, hold your hand out. Don't breathe on it. And look at the beautiful snowflakes. I hope you guys have a great day and have fun. Bye, everybody.